At about 12:42 p.m., President Muhammadu Buhari walks into the National Assembly, flanked by lawmakers and government officials. He is here to present the 2019 appropriation bill to a joint session of the National Assembly. As he walks into the Green Chamber, making his way to his assigned seat, he is greeted by chants, protest songs, and boos by lawmakers, each side trying to outdo each other. This is the first time a president will be presenting a budget to an opposition-led National Assembly since the return of democracy in 1999. And there were indications that it would not be business as usual, as some lawmakers in the House of Representatives had earlier threatened to boycott the budget presentation. The Speaker had earlier called for a closed-door session, and sources say he pleaded with his colleagues to allow the president present the 2019 budget. However, some lawmakers are determined to express their feelings to the president, and they burst out in protest songs and even carrying placards. It's time for President Buhari to present the budget, and he touches on issues of insurgency, the farmers' herders' crisis, fight against corruption, and many more. But he is interrupted during his speech.
May I appeal to the honorable members that the world is watching us, and we are supposed to be above this.
Amidst the rowdy session and charged atmosphere, the president spoke on under-recovery or subsidy in the oil sector and his plans for implementation of the national minimum wage.
Let me say something about minimum wage issue. I am committed to addressing the issue of a minimum wage, and I will be sending a bill to you, the National Assembly, on this. However, in order to avoid a fiscal crisis for the federal government, as well as the state, it is important to devise ways to ensure that its implementation does not lead to an increase in the level of borrowing. I am accordingly setting up a high-powered technical committee to advise on ways of funding an increase in the minimum wage and the attendant wage adjustments without having to resort to additional borrowings.
He also talked at length on the performance of the 2018 budget, as well as numerous projects and programs of his administration.
In priority projects such as the Abuja, Kaduna, Kano Highway, as well as second Niger Bridge, are well underway.
Where is the second Niger Bridge?
Some of the key allocations are to the Ministry of Interior, Defense, Education and Health. He said his government plans to increase broadband penetration in all the 774 local government areas in the country. There is also allocation for the amnesty program in the South-South, as well as a take-off grant for the North-East Development Commission. He then lays the budget. From then on, there was no coming down for those for or against. After about 5 minutes, the president had to leave without the speaker making his remarks. With some members raising placards and others snatching and tearing them, the 2019 budget presentation will go down in history as remarkable, where partisan loyalty played a dominating role and potentially further widening the gap between the National Assembly and the executive on the one hand and the legislature and the executive on the other. Ibrahim Adra, reporting for Channels Television News.
Welcome back. Well, yes, indeed. We're focusing on the budgets this morning on the program. We're going to Abuja. We've got Honorable Yunusa Abubakar, who is still the chairman, House Committee on FRSC and a member of the APC. Good morning, Honorable, and thank you for joining us today on the program. Naturally, we'll have to start with what transpired on the floor. There were those who they said they were surprised seeing what played out on the floor. Did you get a wind that this was actually going to happen, that the president was going to be jeered and clapped for?
Well, Chamberlain, I will say good morning, viewers. To respond to your question, yes. We were aware, even before the president's entrance, we were aware that such a phenomenon is about to happen. That is why, you see, it was widely advertised that Mr. President was supposed to enter the National Assembly by 11 a.m., though it was shifted to 12. The official time was 12 noon. And you can see that it was a little bit delayed. Now, when Mr. Speaker entered the chamber, or even before, as early as 10 a.m., we were in the chamber, and we noticed some of our colleagues with placards, with so many inscriptions, a lot of noise, making agitation, people making complaints. We try to calm them down, explain to them, yes, that's a democracy, you have freedom of expression. But first, we look at ourselves as matured leaders, duly elected. And this Mr. President is coming in pursuant to his constitutional responsibility. If we have any grudges, then we should find elsewhere to settle it. But for Mr. President to be jeered or even denied access to come and to lay the budget, it is really a gross violation of his constitutionally guaranteed right as Mr. President.
Let me quickly ask you before you proceed.
Duty.
Just a minute. When you say he was denied access, what does that mean? Because we saw him eventually presented.
For him to,